Hi there, how are you? I'm Jack Buck, and you're just in time for Top Star Bowling. Why don't you come in and settle down, relax for about an hour, and watch some of the top bowling stars of the world. You'll enjoy it. Come on. Hi there, everyone. Yes, it is time for Top Star Bowling from the very beautiful Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, just southwest of the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west. We have some fine bowlers for you to watch today. Whitey Harris will be introduced a bit later on, and before we introduce the participants for today, both men, by the way, and we do have ladies' matches on Top Star Bowling. I'm going to tell you a bit about the format. $1,000 is up for grabs to the winner today, and we have a gentleman who will be trying for his third consecutive victory and $3,000. $500 to the loser, who is then through with the competition, the winner coming back the following week. King Louis Shirts has also put up $2,500 in prize money, $1,500 for the high series in a 13-week period, $1,000 for a high game in the same 13-week period. And we have a little intrigue going here, which I'll explain in just a moment. Right now, the defending champion in our King of the Hill format from Kansas City, Missouri, a gentleman who holds a lot of Missouri titles. He's won here the past 2 weeks, Bob Chase. Bob, good to see you again.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
His opponent is a fellow from Houston, Texas, who holds a lot of titles in Texas. He's one of the fine team bowlers in the country. Also bowled a perfect game in invitational play, and he is Mr. Don Ellis. Don, good to see you.
Jack, how are you today?
The intrigue that I mentioned has to do with the fact that you knocked him out of Top Star Bowling last year.
Well, that would be a good routine to keep going, wouldn't it?
And what do you think about that?
Well, we'll see.
They bowled 3 games, total pins count, and we're all set to go. Good luck, gentlemen. Handshake, then a lot of strikes. Now we're all set for our first game on Top Star Bowling. Don Ellis won the toss and chose to start on 21. And, Whitey, that's been the case in the past few weeks here on Top Star Bowling.
Whoever takes that left lane there.
And Ellis tries to get us started with a strike, and he does not as he leaves the 10-pin. And so he'll be shooting at the 10-pin for the spare. Don Ellis. Bob Chase, our defending champion on the show, defeated Bill Lillard from Dallas, and so he has a chance to vanquish another Texan. Joe Joseph was defeated last week by Chase. What will the story be with Don Ellis? Ellis starts with a spare. Now, the Whitey I refer to is Whitey Harris, who's alongside and a member of the Brunswick advisory staff of bowling champions. The fellow's internationally known on the bowling front. And now Bob Chase for his first delivery. On 22, way outside, and you could hear that one going over the thumb hole as he didn't deliver the ball quite properly, I'm sure, and he leaves the 1-2.
Only thing you can say, Jack, if Chase continues his pattern, or if you recall in the last few weeks, he usually starts so slow, and then he finally builds up to speed where he holds his line.
He had a 638 the first week. Didn't do quite so well last week, but it was good enough. And he matches the spare on the part of Joe Joseph. His high game in the past 2 weeks was a 227 on the part of Bob. He's from Perry, Missouri, now living in Kansas City. Bowling here in Marlboro, just outside of St. Louis, so he should feel pretty much at home. And pretty much at home, too, on these lanes. Had that ball out there nicely and leaves the 10-pin, just as Ellis had done over there on 21. Bob is the Missouri State match game champion, Missouri State singles champion of past years, won the Kansas City doubles, has bowled 4 300 games, runner-up in a BPAA All-Star tournament a couple of years ago. He's won his share of honors and money. And, well, he's had the same problem the last couple of weeks. I guess, Whitey, this being his third appearance, it's the third or fourth 10-pin that he's missed.
He just grumbled to himself, Jack, that I'll never learn. So I guess week after week, despite the opportunity that they do have to practice, Bob hasn't established himself of going across lanes properly.
Ooh, Ellis got stuck. And leaves the 5-pin. He gets stuck up there, and he's going to do something about that.
Which is a very good corrective thing to do, Jack. Don, wherever he hit the area, taking a sliding foot and trying to move whatever is there.
Let's see if that bothers him. He was pretty careful when he went up there that time. He got the 5-pin for his second spare. He has 19 through the first frame, the spare up, and the lead over Bob Chase, who missed the 10-pin. Don has been a Texan all the way. And he had a pretty good mixing ball, but leaves the 5-7. He could have carried that one rather easily, Whitey.
Yeah, normally on a hit like that, Jack, you're expecting to see the pins fly around about, and evidently the ball just didn't take.
As these bowlers work here, it'll be interesting. He might get it. He did. Nice cover on that 5-7. And so Don continues to mark. He has 3 spares. Bob Chase, a spare and a miss.
I don't think it's any, what we're doing anything irregardless of how a show is being made, but evidently something's bothering Don Ellis.
That strike will bother him a little bit. I saw Don coming back that he was perturbed about something, and we'll get it squared away here as we go along. Bob now would like to make up for that open frame with a double as he bowls here in the 4th. As you watch these bowlers work, it'd be interesting for you to watch where they start their approach, whether they go straight up to the line, how far out they're pitching the ball. That one's right over the 3rd arrow. It seems that Bob is playing these lanes differently. He's way inside on 21, and he's way outside on 22.
That's right, Jack. It's also been in the last few years or so, also watching professional bowlers and things like that. The pro bowlers have moved to what you said is the inside of the lane.
There's one right there. There was a pretty straight line with the ball working nicely, carrying for the first strike of the match for Don Ellis. So we've gone through 4 frames. Just about even right now. Actually, in potential, Bob Chase has a 1-pin advantage. Don trying to get the double to match that of Chase, and he's right in there, but no 10-pin. Left a 10-pin in the first frame, also on 21. So Bob Chase, who fell quickly behind with the open, if he can get a 3-bagger when he comes up in the 5th, can take an early lead. Don didn't have any trouble with that 10-pin, got it out, turned it over, threw right at it, starting from the left, and he gets his spare. So he hasn't opened his 77 through the 4th with a spare up. And now Bob looking for 3.
Jack, it's interesting to note Bob Chase's style. He's all the way back of the approach here, even to the point where
his heels are hanging off the end, aren't they?
He actually takes 5 steps to the foul line.
Throwing hard, and he gets the third strike. He's in the groove right now. I'd like to mention that this particular series is sanctioned by the ABC, the American Bowling Congress. These lanes at Marlboro are certified by the ABC. And as I've said in past weeks, these would be the very same conditions that you would encounter if you stopped in for a couple of games of open bowling. And by the way, that's not a bad idea. even if you're in a league. Why not an extra game or two during the week to help your average? And how's that for 4? Well, it's too bad he had that miss back in the second frame, but he'll make you feel good the next time you miss a 10-pin. Why? Remember Top Star Bowling and the one that Bob Chase missed. Don Ellis has to get on a couple right here. Beautiful strike. Certainly quite a contrast in styles. Chase is more violent in his approach to the line, and Ellis is very easy and graceful about it.
Ellis also takes 4 steps, Jack, and imagine why Chase has to go up there faster.
And now we've got a match on our hands, huh? So there's a double for Ellis and his 3rd strike of the game, and Chase has 4 strikes, but he's put them all together, and he still has the string going. A 3-game match, total pins count, 1,000 for the winner and an invitation to return. Steve Nagy will be the opponent for the winner of this match. The loser takes down $500, which is not a bad day's work. Is that 5? Why not? The 6-pin just standing there, leaving the 10. If it had come back, it may have come back with enough force to carry that 10-pin.
Could have toppled against it. That's the break they're looking for, Jack.
That's where you get the action on the 10-pin, but that stops the string of strikes. Fine game going for Chase. See if this 10-pin is a mental hazard for him. He was more frightened than I was. I knew he had it all the way.
Well, that would be the reaction, Jack, after he, what it is, about 4 times we've seen him in these series where that ball didn't come back.
Those things really start to get to you if they happen often enough. Now the advantage swings to Ellis, who has that 2-bagger going for him. Chase is in the 8th frame working on the spare, and he's ahead by 20 pins in the match. A little bit on the head pin, but he carried it. The 4-7 were late in going down, but he had that good driving ball, got the action he needed from those fine Brunswick pins. Got the action, got the strike. That's his 5th strike. Ellis has 2, looking for 3. Really has that ball working. And the 10-pin waiver. Boy, how can those 10 pins stand up when they get hit like that? That pin will have to be respotted. He'll have to shoot the 10-pin. Don Ellis has 97 through the 5th with a double up, bowling in the 8th frame, and Bob Chase 157 through the 7th with a strike up. Now the 10-pin has been reset on lane 22 according to the ABC rules, and Don Ellis is rolling for his spare in the 8th frame, and he's going to cover it. So that takes care of it. Whitey, anything more to say about that rule?
No, that's right, Jack. That rule has been in effect for a number of years because of the action of the Brunswick automatic pin setter, where it comes down and it strikes it. Pins.
If it touches the pin, it has to come back up.
There's been pro and con arguments for a while on it, but the ABC finally came along and set a rule on it. There's no other excuse for it.
Ellis now bowling in the 9th frame, working on a spare. Trailing Bob Chase. And a good carrying hit. So he has a strike to work on when he comes back up again in the 10th frame. He has a possible 226 game if he can fire 3. Now Bob Chase is working on a strike, and bowling in the 9th frame has a possible 247 game. 247. If he can get 4 strikes. There's a big one, Whitey, that 9th frame.
Yeah, because this could open up this game in a hurry if he catches that strike. It puts a lot of pressure on Ellis for Ellis in the roll-off.
Chase went up, out, in, and a double. Earlier, Bob had 4 in a row, then a spare, now 2, so a total of 6 strikes, as opposed to the 4 delivered by Ellis. That includes 1 double. Now the roll-off for Bob Chase on 21. Recall that Ellis chose to start on 21. So he'll be finishing where he wanted to finish on 22, and we'll see if it does him any good. Here's Chase now. Looking for 3 in a row, looking for the first strike of the roll-off. He is really hot. Now, 2 more for 247.
He's starting a little early, Jack. In the past weeks, he usually got 8 strikes in about the second or the third game. But each week, he's got 8 strikes.
Perhaps the folks have noticed how quickly that ball gets back up on the rack from these A2 automatic pin sitters of Brunswick. And no 4-pin. 4-pin stays for Bob Chase. Ellis really needs his strikes now, for even if he strikes out, he'll be 10 pins behind. Bob Chase needs his 4-pin for a fine 236, which would be his highest in the 3 weeks for the single game. 236. That's a good start. Now Ellis needs 3 for 226. He has a strike up in the 9th.
Chase actually had a real good game there, Jack. He left a 10-pin in the second frame, a 10-pin in the 7th, and that 4-pin there.
One of the 10 pins he missed. Thought that one might go a little high, but it stayed for him, and that's his double. And that's a total of 5 strikes for Don Ellis. 7 strikes for Bob Chase, and he is finished in this game. Ellis needs this one, or he's going to have a pretty good deficit at the start of the second game. He threw that one way out. Looked like he tried to be a little too careful as he set that one down. So the 1-2-4, and if he brings that back, 213. 23 pins behind. And that's the way it is. Don Ellis bowled 213 in the first game of this 3-game match, and Bob Chase 236. And so Chase has a 23-pin advantage at the end of the first game. Time now for our second game on Top Star Bowling. Each bowler off to a good start. Don Ellis with 213, but Bob Chase looking for his 3rd consecutive win, doing even better with a 23-pin advantage at 236. Second game coming up on Top Star Bowling. Bob Chase will be our leadoff man in this one. Trying to stay hot. 236 in the first game with a total of 7 strikes. Ellis had 5. Can't start any better than that. Can't start any better than that. See a lot of ladies in our audience today. And it's so easy for the gals to get a league together. Meet with their friends, meet new friends, bowl, have fun. Leave 4 pins. Whitey, you've instructed a lot of the ladies over the years, huh?
Yeah, Jack. Well, we have the Brunswick Learn to Bowl program, and of course this is a very valuable asset to a proprietor in which we use the various films and the recorded bits of advice by our staff members. And most
spare for Ellis in the first frame. And that takes care of the ladies, the youngsters as well, and even those who have the pretty fair averages can learn to bowl even better. And he really got tapped that time. The 6-pin wrap right around the 10. Giving Ellis a total of 19 in the first frame.
No one likes to get that 10-pin, Jack, but I think when a bowler establishes a line and gets a solid 10-pin, he feels a little more confident when he starts to roll the next time on that line.
I mean, he'll take his chances with that ball all the time. There's a spare for Ellis, 2 in a row, and Bob Chase, who started the second game with a 23-pin advantage, will have a chance to increase that by hanging up a double right here. This is the 3rd week of competition for Bob Chase, so he's assured of at least $2,500. If he wins this one, he will have won $3,000 with a chance to win more against Steve Nagy next week. But Ellis has some ideas. And the 1-2-4-10. A tough one to cover. Tough spare to pick up. This technicality in bowling, Whitey, of not calling it a split unless the head pin is down, I don't agree with, because to me, that's a split up there.
That's true, Jack, and they do that so often whenever that head pin's up there.
Did you ever see it covered that
I think Bob Chase is going to win anyway, and that was one of the ways.
What came back and got it?
You're asking me now?
Yeah.
I can't tell you, to tell the truth.
I think it was a 2-pin, huh? Hit the kickback, the sideboard, and down it went.
The only thing I can say was a Brunswick Score King pin that flew back there.
Chase on 20 again, and 21 where he struck it. Here is in the groove again. I would have liked to have a look at Don Ellis when he picked up that spare.
I bet she was laughing all over.
Oh, yeah. For $1,000, I bet he was laughing. Ellis working on a spare and bowling in the third frame. Got that ball way out there and right in. He had good lift, and he was fully extended. Good follow-through. Beautiful form on that one.
I think you hit it on the head, Jack, when you remarked in introducing these two bowlers of the battle they had in the other top star bowling. Why, it was a good one, and looks like this is getting to that size, too.
Needs a double, Ellis does. 10-pin has been bothering him. He's had a lot of 10-pins to shoot at. What do you have in the first game, Whitey? He had 2 in the first game, huh? And 2 in this game. You have one here, too? That's 3?
Actually, he had 3 of them, Jack. First frame, 5th frame, and the 8th frame. Right in amongst those strikes in the first game.
So 5 so far. And there's the spare for Ellis in the 4th. Chase with a chance to further increase his advantage. Strike, spare, strike. Remember, he didn't get up to the head pin the last time he was over here on 22.
He's thinking of it, Jack, because he's moved a few more boards to the left on the approach.
He's just outside the 3rd arrow and right in there. Now, there's the mark of a good bowler. There's the mark of the professional bowler. He adjusted and made it pay off for him. There's his double, his 3rd strike in the game.
If he'd have moved a couple more boards, he'd have been out on Highway 66.
Which, by the way, runs right by these Marlboro Lanes. Very attractive bowling house, 24 lanes. And they're busy people here. Looking for 3. And he looks at a split, 6, 7, 10. He'd have been content with that 4-10, I think, Whitey, with that pitch, but no break this time. Breaks even up in this game like everything else, I suppose.
Yeah, this ball hit there. He could have, like you called it, he could have dropped that 1 pin there, which would have given him an easy spare.
Ellis probably sitting there saying, you had it coming to you. He gets the 2 pins. So an open in the 5th frame, the first open for Bob Chase, who went through the first game with 1 open and a 236. Don Ellis bowled 213 in that first game. Now this is when Ellis would like to start a little string and change this around. Got late action, but he got it. So a strike in the 5th frame. Don Ellis has 79 through the 4th with a strike up, and Bob Chase open in the 5th has a total of 85. Ellis looking for his first double in this match. In this game, I meant to say. He had 2 doubles in the first game. Gets a double now. It's getting pretty close, Mr. Harris.
I think we're seeing some fine bowling, Jack. As you remarked before on the 10 pins, Ellis has really been in the pocket all the way. Just a matter of carrying.
So he had 5 strikes in the first game, 3 here, plus 5 10 pins. It's been very consistent. Chase opened in his last frame, and he gets started again. So they each have a strike in the 6th, but Ellis has a double going for him.
It's interesting to note, Jack, that the only Chase actually on this right lane has hit strikes every time, but in the 2nd frame of the first game when he left the 10 pin. So he's got a pretty good line on lane 22.
And this 21 may be bothering him a bit, but it doesn't look like it. And so they each have a double going. Don Ellis has 79 through the fourth with a two-bagger up, and Bob Chase 85 through the fifth with a double up, and Chase is ahead by 10 pins at the moment. An important frame here in the seventh of the second game for Don Ellis. He's working on a double. His opponent, Bob Chase, is also, but Chase is out in front. Ellis is there. He got the good 10-pin action that time. That 6 really clipped it down. Ellis bowled 213 in the first game. On his way to a better game here, but nonetheless finds himself down in the encounter by some 9 pins. And 5-7. He left that earlier. Left that in the third frame of the first game and converted it. And he has it to shoot at again. It was on the same lane, too. Stops his string of strikes. He's got another chance at it. Yeah. That's 2 for 2. 2 for 2 on a very tough split. 5-7. Well, they really needed that one.
I heard a voice in the background say he's got it, Jack. That was me.
I heard somebody yell. Yeah. It's the 8th frame now for Bob Chase. He has a double after opening in the 5th frame. He's had 5 strikes so far. 22 has been good to him. It's a 3-bagger for him, so he's had a double and a 3-bagger and 1 open in this game. Started the game with a 23-pin advantage over Don Ellis. Don Ellis is ahead in this particular game by 12 pins, but Bob Chase is ahead by 11 in the match. Nice comeback by Chase. There's a strike in the 9th frame, 4 in a row. He threw a 4-bagger at Ellis in the first game, too. If Chase were to go all the way, he'd have 245. Ellis has 157 with a spare working in the 8th, bowling in the 9th frame. Has to keep firing. He strikes. At this point, we don't know who's going to be bowling Steve Nagy next week. The following week, Ray Orff will be the challenger, and the week after that, Ray Bluth.
Wayne Zahn is also in the list, Jack. He's a...
And the thin hit didn't carry. 2-4-5. Yes, Zahn follows Bluth in the competition.
One of our young top pros, Jack. He's from out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Ellis in the roll-off, looking for a spare. And he just made that 4-pin move.
Peculiar thing, Jack. Actually, the pro bowlers will stand to the left of the approach on that 2-4-5 just to prevent the thing that Don showed there, to prevent from chopping off the 4-pin.
217 if he can get a 10 count here. And he'll lose more pins to Bob Chase. It's 214, so 213, 214. For Don Ellis so far. And just as in the first game, he had 5 strikes, so he has a total of 10 strikes. Now, Bob Chase has a string going, 4 in a row. He's in his roll-off. 245 if he can get 3 hits. Don Ellis has total 427 for the 2 games. It's total pins that count. Chase out, up, in, and strike. That's 5. A little irony here. You recall at the outset we mentioned that Chase had been vanquished from Top Star Bowling last year by Don Ellis. The tables may be turning, but don't count this one over yet. However, Chase started this second game with a 23-pin advantage, and he's adding to that. Another strike is needed here to get up in the 240s. He's high. He wanted a lucky strike, but he didn't carry it. Leaves a 6-pin. So that'll cut him down to 234 if he covers a 6-pin, and 470. And a 43-pin lead. He's got it. 234 for Bob Chase. And so in the 2 games so far, Don Ellis bowled 213 and 214 for a 427 total. Bob Chase red hot, 236 and 234, and he has a total of 470, and he has a 43-pin advantage at the end of the 2nd game. Before continuing with our 3rd game on Top Star Bowling, a chance to visit with 2 fine gentlemen and chat about various aspects of bowling. And to my left is Father James Ryan, the pastor of St. Elizabeth of Hungary Church in Crestwood, Missouri. On my right is Mr. David Blumenthal, who's the 3rd vice president of the National B'nai B'rith Bowling Leagues. First, Father Ryan, what's your interest in the sport of bowling?
Well, I personally am not a bowler, but I do have quite a number of parishioners, half of them children, men and women who do bowl, and they're very interested in it.
It's a great family activity.
It is, Jack. It is a sport where a family can get together, something better really than the other sports that require the dad to be away or the mother's out away from the home. This way they can bowl together, children and father and mother alike.
You encourage that in your parish?
Yes, I do. We certainly do. We have several leagues that bowl from the parish itself, as well as children who was mentioned last week. Take part in the instruction class. Yes,
Mr. Blumenthal, how many bowlers do we have in the B'nai B'rith Leagues?
In the city, some 700, Jack, and throughout the nation, some 20,000.
You have a national tournament every year?
National tournament this year will be held in Chicago, Illinois in March of 1964, yes.
Father said that he is not a bowler, are you?
Yes, sir, I am.
Is that all you're going to say about it?
I think that's enough.
Have you ever bowled, Father?
Yes, during the summer leagues here, our parishioners were in a league, and I came down to watch them, and it so happened that 2 of the team didn't show up, so they asked me to bowl a blind. So I was doing not too good, of course, but I looked up on the score sheet up over my head, and I saw blind Father Ryan.
Gentlemen, thanks a lot for the visit.
Thank you.
And I know that you're happy to meet one another and enjoy the remainder of our show,
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father. $470 for Bob Chase at the end of 2 games, $427 for Don Ellis, and more Top Star Bowling. "43 pins down. Don Ellis trying to get a start here in the 3rd game on 21. And he could have used that. Leaves a 10-pin. He's left a few 10-pins, and Whitey Harris pointed out a while ago that it's an indication of the fact that there's not much the bowler can do except keep firing in that same groove.
That's right, Jack. And I think we evidently, and sometimes the scores do get bad, but yet the pros, they pick up their spares.
Yeah, they pick up those spares and avoid those opens. Right? They've got that 190 to start with, string a couple of strikes together, and that's when you get up to 236 and 234, as Bob Chase has done. And Don Ellis, a couple of 200 games. Let's see, now Chase has had 7 strikes in the 1st game, 8 in the 2nd. How's he going to start the 3rd? He didn't cool off at all.
Normally they say, Jack, when a 4-pin is kicked out, well, it's a kicker, but he's been knocking that 4-pin all over, and just that time, I'm pretty sure it was a 4-pin that climbed onto the 7. It was really some action that he's throwing.
Bob from Kansas City, anxious to stay around and take on Steve Nagy. Boy, he's hot. Starts with a double. Steve Nagy still calls Cleveland his home, huh?
Oh, yes. He's sure he'll be another rough opponent.
Where's Don Ellis is still very much in this picture. He has a spare up in the first frame and a beautiful strike. How easy this game is when you do things right. And there's perseverance for you. He left a 10-pin with a good hit in his first frame, came right back and carried the strike. Now he needs the double to match the double that Bob Chase has working for him. Yeah, there it is. When Chase appeared here previously, he defeated Bill Lillard with a 638 total, and then had a 568, but it was good enough to defeat Joe Joseph. This is going to be his best series of all, isn't it, Whitey, to project a bit?
I think, and we can't say Don Ellis is out of it, Jack. He's putting on the pressure.
He's outside and didn't get up this time. Well, let's see what's going to happen now. He leaves the 1-2-4-10 once again. He left this previously, but he picked it for a spare. It was in the second frame of the second game when he got unusual action after being too full on the head pin. Has to get over on the Brooklyn side. And he did the same thing that time, but he didn't get the action.
And that pin looked like it was coming back out, Jack. He had a lot of action with it.
Looks like a trick play of his. But no, it's an open for Chase, who had one open in the second game and one open in the first, so he's had one in each of the three games. Now that opens it up a little bit for Don Ellis. For Ellis has a spare and a double. Chase trying to get back on one. He has been, Whitey, ever since he got started here and started hitting them well to defeat Bill Lillard, and he struggled at the outset. He's been the picture of a confident bowler.
Jack, this will be interesting. If Don Ellis strikes here, I want you to note the action of the A2, because by the time he returns back here, the ball he'll be ready to pick the ball up.
And no 7-pin. The 5 was late in falling. And he really needed that, but didn't get it. Yeah, that ball is back long before you're ready to bowl, especially when you're bowling for this much money.
Well, this style of bowling helps these fellas because it keeps them in the groove, Jack, when that gets that ball back there.
Well, at least he picked up some pins by avoiding the open, which Bob Chase caught in the third frame. But don't forget that Chase has the strike working. Ellis about 28 pins down right at this point. Whoops, he's stuck on the approach, but got the ball out there nicely. Ellis had a little bit of difficulty with the approach. The preponderance of bowlers like to glide, do they not, Eddie? Slide up to the line?
That's right, but you take some of the pros, Jack, they like to be firm at the foul line, and of course this helps them get that ball through. That's what it amounts to.
Hey, a little 10-pin tap. That's one of the few taps that Bob Chase has had. Evidently, he's had the proper angle going for him, which hasn't caused him to shoot at too many 10-pins. And by the way, he missed a 10-pin back in the second frame of the first game, and he's missed about 4 of them here over the weeks. He can't hear me, so unless he has thought of it himself, I'm not bothering him. He's got this one. Now the advantage swings to Ellis, who has that strike going. 28-pin difference right at this point. Don Ellis, 89 through the fourth with a strike up. Bob Chase, 74 through the fourth with a spare up. Chase is well aware of the fact that Ellis can close in on him and pull this match right from him. He was high, and he was afraid of that one. He was pretty much on that head pin, and he was a little bit frightened, you could tell. Well, that's his 4th strike in this game. Another chance to double right here. There's a double. $1,000 to the winner. 500 to the loser. The loser's through. The winner comes back another week. Don Ellis from Houston, Texas. Looking for 3. He had a 3-bagger in the second game. And no 10-pin. Boy, he's left some 10-pins. If he'd have carried all those 10-pin hits, Whitey, he'd be way out in front.
And where he's had them, Jack, was if we note, like he started with a 1 in this game here, and then he caught doubles. Now he's left another one, and that's where you get those pins when you can get those turkeys.
10-pin goes down, so Ellis continues with a game in which he has no opens. Let me see, do you have any opens along the line? He had, no. He's had 2 splits, and he picked both of those. But still, he hasn't been able to put the strikes together like Chase has, and so there's a difference. But only 19 pins now. And we're in the 7th frame for Bob Chase. He needs more strikes. Gets one. That's another double. The second double of this game and his 5th strike. He's back up to a 28-pin lead. Started the game with a 43-pin lead. A split in the 3rd frame put the pressure on him, but he's reacted well to it. And a 4-pin. The fans ooh and then groan. You know that many neighborhood bowling centers are now supplementing the facilities of the school system. Physical education directors are offering bowling either as a regular course or as an intramural activity. You're never too old to bowl. There's another spare for Bob Chase. Gives him 143 through the 7th with a spare up. Ellis is still faced with this disadvantage. And he's got to start striking. 28 pins behind at the moment. And he got it. He really turned that one over. He had a little something extra right on the end of the delivery, Whitey. I think he figured he was up there wrong or something.
Well, it also took the 5-7 out with the first ball, Jack. Those pins were moving around.
Well, that strike doesn't mean much unless he can put another with it right here in his 9th frame. Can he? Did he? No 5-pin. It has to be the delivery when that 5-pin remains.
Yeah, Jack, he probably, see, he almost had the 5-7 there, too, but the 7-pin dropped again, so it was the same type ball he threw over here on 22.
Well, that didn't take long for that ball to come back and him to shoot at that 5-pin, did it? Huh? The game's really going to be speeded up by the Brunswick A2.
I think where it helps, Jack, are bowlers like this, well, all bowlers, in fact, because they get in the groove. The ball is there, and they're ready to go. There's no waiting.
Chase is bowling in the 9th frame. He has a spare up. He's been a fine bowler to behold here today. There's his strike.
I thought for a while, Jack, we might be playing around with one of those magic 700s, but if Bob goes all the way, he'll just be short about 7 pins.
Yes?
690 something.
He needs 3 more strikes. He started with 236, came back with 234. Looking for a double. He's on the head pin. Gets a little break so that he can spare in the 10th as a 10-pin drop for him. He'll have the 4-7 to shoot at. He'll be in the 670s if he spares and gets a good count. Goes to 4-7. Now he needs 10 pins for 203. Don Ellis with a very respectable total to be bumped out, huh? 655 for Ellis. And that's the way he should have finished. 203 and a 673. So you saw some scores on this match. Don Ellis ended with a total of 228 in the last game. Can end with that. With a strike. Well, I've already said it. Maybe you'll go ahead and do it and make me look good, Whitey. I've been doing a little projecting here with the figures.
You know, Don possibly could get 8 strikes this game, Jack, and again, he shot a wonderful game. He had a 10-pin, a 7-pin, and a 10-pin.
Making him look easy, huh? Now he needs 10 more for 228 and 655. Bob Chase has already totaled 673. And an 8-pin count for 226. Don Ellis bowled 213, 214, 226, 653. And it was Bob Chase with 236, 234, 203, 673, and his 3rd win in a row on Top Star Bowling. Well, it was a great match here on Top Star Bowling with Bob Chase winning for the 3rd consecutive time. We have a young lady who's a graduate of the John Robert Powers Modeling School and the Patricia Allen Agency in St. Louis, who has the privilege of paying. I was trying to get away with these, I forgot. But she has the privilege of presenting these checks to our 2 contestants. Miss Davies, will you come up, please? What a nice hand for a pretty young lady. What was your first name again, please? Janice. Meet Mr. Don Ellis.
Hello, Janice. How are you?
He's the loser.
Right. I'm sorry.
Tell her that makes you give me the wrong check.
Want to step right in here, please, Janice? And the $500 check belongs to Don.
Thank you.
And here's the winner.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much.
Don, if you had carried a lot of those 10 pins, why, you'd be on the other side over here.
That little word F sure means a lot, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We'll be seeing you along the line.
I hope so, Jack. Enjoyed it very much. Good luck to you.
Don Ellis, folks. You say you beat Bill Lillard?
Joe Joseph?
Joe Joseph? Don Ellis?
We're even now.
You're even now from last year. Steve Nagy next week, Bob. We'll see you here.
Very good. I'll be here. Thank you.
That's $3,000 he's won in 3 weeks. Bob Chase, our winner today. A little reminder that along the line, in addition to the outstanding stars in the men's bowling world, we're going to have some of the ladies here to perform for you at the Marlboro Lanes. And by the way, when the ladies are bowling, they're competing for the same prize money with regard to the high game and the high series. And so this will be a chance for the weaker sex, as they say, to vanquish the men, walk off with some of those prizes. And if that ever happens here on Top Star Bowling, well, we'll never hear the end of it. Each week it's this way, 3 games with total pins counting. And today, once again, and for the 3rd consecutive week, our winner, Bob Chase. We're at the Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, just outside the city limits of the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west. And thanks to our audience, and we know that they had fun, and our thanks to the fine competitors for the bowling they have shown us. We'll see you next week on Top Star Bowling. And now Jack Buck for Whitey Harris says thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long. By Brunswick, the #1 name in bowling. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.